Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Travers Talks. I'm Jim Horn, and today we're digging into a county commission conversation that doesn't get nearly enough attention. What Grand Traverse County is actually going to do with its opioid settlement money. There's over $2 million sitting in county accounts right now, money that came from the lawsuits against the companies that fueled the opioid crisis. And the board just spent about an hour hashing out how and fast to get this out the door. Hey, stick with me because this one gets surprisingly heated. So here's the setup. Health Officer Mike Leahy came before the Board of Commissioners to give an update on the opioid settlement spend plan, not to ask for a vote on anything final, just to get the board's temperature before he brings back a finished request for proposals or an RFP later this year. Quick refresher for anyone just tuning in. These are the settlement dollars Michigan counties are receiving from the big pharmaceutical and pharmacy chain lawsuits over the opioid epidemic, and Grand Traverse County has to decide how its share gets spent in the community. So here's where we're at. Back in January, the health department put out a call for people to serve on an opioid advisory committee. 18 people applied, and the county picked a mix that includes board members, public health staff, law enforcement, community corrections, and treatment providers. That committee has been meeting since spring, working off a community needs assessment done with the Michigan Association of Counties. And on June 25th, they finished scoring out the community's top priorities and started digging into the actual language of the RFP. Now, the RFP is something that the community organization would provide to the health department, and the health department would take a look at it and then obviously forward it on to the county commissioners for approval. Now, here's the interesting part. The plan splits into two tracks. First, there's a mini grant, smaller awards, $10,000 and under, with a fast, expedited application so smaller nonprofits and faith-based groups can get that money out the door quickly, maybe as soon as this fall. Leahy's pitching about $100,000 total for that pool in 2026. Then there's the bigger track, full grant applications, more paperwork, more reporting aimed at larger multi-year projects, likely opening for 2027 funding. Commissioner Walter pushed back on the process right away, and she had some questions. So let's listen to her.
So this is, to deploy these funds yet this year. That's the intent. And so let's say I'm an organization. I have a gap of funding for $8,000. I want to apply for this grant. Mm-hmm. Who reviews it initially? Like, what's the rest of that process like? I see italicized board review and approval, but can you talk us through what that looks like to get to get this $100,000 out into the community in the next several months?
Yep. So the discussion that we had on the 25th would factor in a cadence within the RFP language that these would be received and reviewed monthly by the committee and then ultimately brought to the board once they've run through committee and the committee approves for recommendation to come back to the board here for me to present the committee's recommendation. So on a monthly revolving basis, reviewing those as a committee and then bringing them to the board here, intended through the rest of these board meetings of 2026, right?
Okay, then things got genuinely pointed. Commissioner Andrews pushed back hard on some framing from another commissioner who tied the opioid crisis to a crime and law enforcement strain.
It's like
Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, I do want to strike back against the idea that this is illegal. This is a criminal problem. This is a medical problem. This is a public health issue. The guy in my district died from an overdose. He didn't commit a crime. He had a surgery that led to an addiction. Mm-hmm. his family is recovering from that, and the continuation of the stigma that this is a criminal problem instead of a public health problem is part of the problem we are literally trying to overcome right here, right now. And I just want to take issue on the record with that.
Commissioner Andrews argued for capping the 2027 spending at around $500,000, worried that without a cap, the county could burn through the whole settlement fast without knowing what's actually working. Commissioner Walter, she disagreed, arguing the county's been sitting on this money too long already and ought to really front load the spending to make a real dent in the crisis now. Commissioner Flynn, well, she landed in between. No hard dollar cap, she said, because that discourages ambitious proposals. But she also said there's really no rush to spend it all at once. There was also a good back and forth on something called the 60-40 split, the idea that 60% of the money would go to community organizations and 40% could fund county departments like the sheriff's office or community organizations applying through that same process. And sheriff's office leadership weighed in too on how these dollars might help people get diverted out of jail and into treatment instead of cycling back through the system. In the end, the board didn't vote on any dollar amount. This was really a discussion item, not a decision. Leahy's heading back to finalize the RFP language, likely bringing it back in August with mini grants possibly opening up as early as September. So that's where things stand, folks. A committee that's done its homework, a board that's genuinely wrestling with speed versus sustainability, and real money finally about ready to make its way out into the community. So if you run a local nonprofit or service provider, keep an eye out for that RFP this fall, because a slice of that this could be for you. Hey, folks, thanks for listening to Travers Talks. I'm Jim Horn, and we're going to catch you on the come around. Take care.